Munoz. I'm, as you know, running for governor as an independent, one of the candidates that hasn't been on the debate stage of recent weeks. But very much it's been a pleasure and an amazing journey to be on this campaign. Let me explain a little bit of my background so you can understand why I'm running for governor. I grew up in Central Falls, graduated from Central Falls High School, went through the public school system, learned a lot, gained perspective, and it's that perspective that drove me to college. Went on to study philosophy at Rhode Island College, and then at that time, after formulating those very deep questions that we all do at some point in our lives, decided that I wanted to help the community, and I wanted to address the suffering, which I had seen and which I knew existed, and medicine was the best vehicle to do that. I went on to the University of Connecticut School of Medicine, and the altruism that brought me there was confronted with the reality that community health is struggling these days because resources aren't getting there, because there are a lot of business interests in healthcare. So after engaging health policy development within the American Medical Association, we realized that policy moves too slowly, and developed the assumption that perhaps industry could serve as a vehicle to affect change, because largely it's associated with money and with developing technologies that could disrupt and innovate and push the market. Went on to industry, developed a small medical device firm, and a lot of the assumptions I made initially that drove me to industry were again confronted with reality. And the reality is that policy and government dictate whether or not change is effected in industries such as healthcare and education and every other facet of life. In 2017, I spent that entire year thinking about which office would be the best platform to affect the changes that we need to see in education and healthcare and housing. And running for governor was the only way. We have a healthcare crisis that no one is talking about in Rhode Island. See, health outcomes are a biomarker for everything else we're doing. For education, for the educational disparity, there's an education disparity, that is, there's a health care issue. There's a housing disparity, there's a health care issue. And yet, we have rising costs of care in the state that no one is talking about. We have rising costs of health insurance premiums that no one is talking about. The systemic challenges we're facing are not being talked about, and the question is why. And this is the real question of this campaign. How are special interests driving or stopping the change that we need to see in the state of Rhode Island? As governor, what I would do is confront those special interest groups. We need investments in community health care, direct investments. If we're going to scoop money from Rhode Island Hospital, it should be directed to community health care, not to fill the deficit. We need to confront health insurance companies. Either put ourselves at the table when hospitals and health insurers are negotiating the prices for the premiums and the cost of care, or open our borders to additional insurance companies. But something needs to happen. That will alleviate cost burden for all families in Rhode Island. We need an education system, yes, that expands pre-K. We also need to make more investments into ESL. We need to make more investments into early childhood assessments around learning disabilities like ADHD, which are not always hyperactive. Sometimes it's the child that's inactive. It's the daydreamer that has a language barrier but doesn't have necessarily the words or physical gestures to elicit an investigation by a teacher. As a state, we need to recognize that these things are happening. We need to invest in a life course in junior high school that teaches financial competency. We need to broaden the way that we teach health education to not only talk about sex ed, but to include contraceptive science, to expand the sense of responsibility that children have at an early age. We need to adopt Israel's model of an after-school program and challenge the universities that don't pay taxes but instead contribute small payments in lieu of taxes to expand their pipeline programs and after-school programs. And as in Israel, transport our students in high school, in 9th and 10th grade, to these programs where they can acquire a vocational trade, a trade skill, whether it's plumbing or electricity, or whether it's cybersecurity or medical billing. We need a statewide civic service program, as Israel attached to its after-school program. They can get our students civically engaged in the community, apply the skills that they're learning, build a sense of legacy. That's how children, that's how youth will stay in the state. It's legacy that we keep from here. This is how we prepare our people to engage in the market, to participate in the market. This is how we edify our communities, so that every individual in the state of Rhode Island that has the desire and capability to prosper has access to the opportunities that are coming here. Because access is the real issue. Things could be happening, but for who? Opportunities could have been created, but are they accessible by Rhode Islanders? We have taxes in the state, yes, and everyone can agree that at some point taxes can be burdensome. But we have regressive taxes in the state. Taxes that are disproportionately affecting people that live in urban cores, that are disproportionately affecting single mothers. We have a car tax that, yes, affects a small business, but equally affects a single mother that has a job at 4 o'clock in the morning as a CNA and is paying 20% of her income on Uber, but still can't afford $1,500 a year to lease an affordable vehicle. We have a regressive tangible property tax that's affecting micro businesses. Let's talk about micro businesses in the state. Not the small ones, but the ones that Rhode Islanders are creating, the small jewelry shop, the restaurant. Why are they paying taxes on assets that are 10 years old? All the incentives that we're giving and are we in fact incentivizing our own people here in the state of Rhode Island to do better, to try, to risk. And housing. 71-year-old woman on Elmwood Ave pays $1,400 a month for rent in one of the most dangerous corners. She's afraid to walk to the bus stop. She gets most of her food across the street in a grocery store that barely has options. That's the story of housing in Rhode Island. And unless we're willing to invest in programs, to work with our banks, to work with local contractors, to incentivize the renovation of every abandoned home in South Providence and every other city and town like it, unless we're willing to do that, then we're not doing enough.